Welcome to Albion, Pennsylvania. Located in southwestern Erie County, Albion is filled with rich history and local pride. Join us as residents show and tell everything that makes their community a great hometown.
Hi, I'm BJ Light. I live here in Albion all my life, and I'm going to talk today about how the Bessemer was such a substantial part of our economy here in Albion years back. Everybody worked on the railroad, and that is what I'm going to tell. After the Great Depression, when there was hardly any economy at all, then things got going, and so then the Bessemer started up again. And then it was in the late 30s and early 40s that it was booming. And they hauled ore out of Conneaut, which came in on the ore boats out of Duluth up at the Mesabi Range. And those big ore boats would come into Conneaut, and then the Bessemer and Lake Erie train would go down and pick them up. There's only one engine left of those big steamers that worked on the railroad. They've scrapped them all. But that 863 was in Conneaut, would hook onto the train. They would have two pushers behind that to get that huge ore train up over what they called the hogback. That was like a hill coming from Conneaut to Albion. And the two pushers were behind it, so they had to make sure they were all in sync so they didn't break the train in half. And those steamers just pulled and chugged. It was amazing how much those steamers could pull. They had 23,000 gallons of water in the holding in the hopper there. They had 23 tons of coal. They could fire those. That's how big those engines were. A man standing beside those engines looked like a little pea because they were so big, and one man controlled that whole engine, the engineer and the fireman. It was amazing. But anyways, Albion was the main terminal at that time. It was always a terminal here. That was where everything happened, began and ended, was in Albion. As the trains came and went, it was just, the town was wide open 24 hours a day. The restaurants were open. Everything was booming here, very few cars, but everybody walked, and I think everyone was quite healthy. But when they finally got their train tied up, which is what they call it, they would come up here to the rest house because there was hardly any showers in the homes in the late 30s, early 40s. And they would come up here, and they had a locker in the basement, and they would take a shower, and when they came out, they looked just beautiful. And if they didn't have a room here in town, then they would stay here. But they would stay here because they had to have an 8-hour rest before they could get called out again. But that was how that went. And so then anyone in town that had an extra bedroom, they rented those rooms out. Everybody had a room, except the ones that were living in the town. And when they would go to bed, or whenever they were around, we had call boys. They were call boys, and they called the crews. And they would have a list of what time this train was going out, and they had to have a 2-hour call period. Rode their bicycles or walked. They were grown men, a lot of them. A lot of them were high school seniors, working their way through school, you know. And so they would go to the house. Houses were not unlocked. There was nothing locked up in this town. There was no crime. And they would go in the house in the middle of the night, go to the room wherever this railroader was sleeping, wake him up, and he had to sign the call book that he had been awakened and what time he had to go to work. And that's how that was. There was no telephones, and so you had to do it all in person, and no matter how bad the weather was. The weather never stopped anyone from going to work. You got there somehow, and it was fantastic. So anyways, when they got all cleaned up here at the rest house, then they walked across the tracks and over to what was called Stewart's Restaurant. And that was a huge, great, big white place. It was a restaurant. An elderly couple owned it, and where you ate, it was in a U shape because they could take care of so many more men that way. And off of that they had rented all their rooms out too. So there was a big wraparound porch there, and men would sit out on the porch there and watch the trains. And that's what they did with that. It was just a a whole town effort. Everybody prospered because if you didn't ride the trains, you worked in the yards, you worked in the roundhouse. And it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was an easy life for some and not for others, but you all made money. There was no unemployment then. You know, think about that. There was no way to have money coming in if you didn't work. And in the wintertime, they would shut down pretty much the railroad because the lake would freeze over, and they couldn't get the ore down here from Duluth. And so the lake would freeze, and a lot of guys would be laid off. You know, families would have to scrounge around and get enough until springtime, till the lakes opened up. But after they got rid of most of the steamers and they got the diesels in, the diesels could run in bad weather, in bad snow weather, without having that steam to deal with. But but it was nip and tuck in the wintertime for a long time. But then the whole thing started to go when the steel business went down, when the ore was not necessary because they were getting the steel out of China. And that ruined it for Pittsburgh. They ruined everything, the economy all the way around. It was not only the railroads, but it was the steel mills were all shut down. All those people in Pittsburgh that depended on the ore coming from the Bessemer and Lake Erie Railroad, there was no need for it. And it was sad. And the coal was the same thing. The coal mines were shutting down, and it was a very bad time. And then the Canadian National bought the whole thing. They bought the Bessemer and Lake Erie Railroad, they bought the Poignant Dock Company, and that was where the ore boats came in. And it never came back to what it was, but when I was a kid, it was wonderful here.
My name is Jay Kulik. I am president currently of Rogers Brothers Corporation here in Albion. We are a family business. I'm a member of our fourth generation. We're very deep into our fourth generation these days. The family's owned the business from its very beginnings, and what we do is we build large, heavy-duty semi-trailers to haul construction equipment. Detachable gooseneck trailers, tag-along trailers that you would see pulled behind a large dump truck for hauling excavators and paving machines and all kinds of things. The company was founded by the three Rogers brothers in 1905. Prior to that, two of the brothers were employed in the bridge building business for a company called Kellogg. And what the story goes that I've always been told, Kellogg reneged on several contracts in Erie and Crawford County, and two of the brothers, Charles, the oldest brother, and Lewis, my great-grandfather, felt they could step up and actually open a small company to build those bridges, fill those contracts, is what they did. And their youngest brother, Hugh, joined the company as well. They built bridges and other steel structures pretty much exclusively for the first 9 or 10 years of the company's existence. And we began building trailers for our own use for bridge building in the early 19-teens. And by 1914, we had sort of approached the commercial market and started building small, one-ton pull-behind trailers, and it kind of took off from there. All construction equipment that we build these trailers to haul continually gets larger and longer. And so they have a need for bigger and stronger trailers, but at the same time, the regulatory agencies, state by state, make it more difficult to carry the product. They want to limit how much each axle has to minimize the damage to the roads is their reasoning, and it's a good reasoning. So it gets very complex. Technologies have changed as well in the industry. The first trailers that we built many years ago were solid rubber tires. In the 30s, pneumatic rubber tires started with inner tubes and so on, these big, huge tires. And as we've approached, the most recent development, tires happened 30 years ago. We went to what are called low-profile tires. They're radials, but they have a much smaller diameter for the same load, so we can accomplish more at a lower height, which is very important to our industry. So, among other things, we're very well located for our industry, at least in years past, to acquire steel and other components, because we're very centrally located between Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. And in years past, that was the heartbeat of domestic steel production, and so this was a pretty good place to be. Also, again, in the early days, we grew up as a company as the major metropolitan areas of New York and Boston, Philadelphia also grew up. And so we were able to serve those markets and be very close to those markets because transportation was very different in those days. And so that was a good place to be. The community itself, though, provided initially the workforce that we used. Again, in the early days, it was common for railroaders to off-shift come work for us. And then when they're back on shift, they work for the railroad. That was very common. We've been a union shop since the 40s and have a very good relationship with our union. And mostly community members work for us. It's very common for Albion folks and well as the outlying areas to work for us. We've always found them to be good people. We've had very good success with those folks that have worked for us over the years. We've had generations of people work for us, second and third generations of people who've worked in the shop, and that's not been an uncommon experience. In terms of our presence in Albion, we value the community. We have no intentions of making any changes to our involvement or our presence in the community. The people that work for us, again, are typically folks from the Albion area. They're good people. We're very proud of that. We try to support activities around the community as best we can. In a local marketing sense, we don't sell a lot of product, in our shadow, although occasionally we do. We've sold a couple of trailers very recently here to local companies, and we're very happy that happens. It's nice to see our product when I'm driving around locally. We make a big effort to do that when we can. But yeah, the company is very, very happy and has always been very positively involved in the local community, and we're very happy to do so.
Hi, my name's Nicole Pavoco, and I'm going to talk about farming in the Albion area. I've kind of always wanted to be a farmer. I love my job. It doesn't even really feel like work. Both my parents have been farmers since basically right after they got married. Both of their parents were farmers. My dad's parents were strictly grain. My mom's parents did both dairy and grain. I get to spend a lot of time with my family, and I'm very thankful to live in an area and have a job where I can do that. When both my brother and I graduated high school, we decided we wanted to stay on the farm and work. So my parents had to almost double the amount of acres that they were farming in order for us to be able to do that. Our family farms about 1,400 acres. We rent the majority of that land from people in the Albion, Cranesville, and surrounding areas. We spread out as far as 13 miles from the farm. We grow corn, soybeans, and occasionally wheat. The corn we sell mostly dependent on price and how far we have to truck it from the farm. Some of our corn goes to an ethanol plant where they turn it into alternative fuels. We also sell some of our corn to a dog food plant in New York. We sell some of it to local feed mills, including the Albion feed mill, where they bag it up and sell it for feed and other uses for people in the community. The soybeans that we grow are a specialty bean that have a high non-trans fat oil. That's better for cooking and better for people in general. We have to ship them out to a plant out by Toledo, Ohio, where they crush the bean for the oil and they sell the remnants as cattle feed to other farmers. We typically only plant wheat when we want to put field drainage tile in a piece of property after we're done. Wheat is harvested in July, so that leaves the ground dry and in perfect condition to be able to get on it to put tile in. You put tile in a wet piece of property in order to dry it out, and therefore you see better yields and you have longer and earlier access to the field. Also, other farms in the area grow sweet corn, potatoes, and other produce, which they sell locally and at the Albion grocery store. The problem that farmers are facing today is how to feed more people with less farmland that's constantly being turned into housing developments in cities. The answer has been solved in the form of GMOs. GMOs are genetically modified organisms. A product is considered a GMO when scientists take a desirable trait that naturally occurs in one organism, copy it, and put it into another. There's a lot of controversy around farmers using sprays on their crops. The geranium flower is naturally resistant to Roundup. So scientists take the gene and copy it, put it into many agricultural crops. So they only have to spray the crop one time versus multiple times, When my great-grandparents started farming, they used horse-drawn, one-bottom plows that only turn over 14 inches of dirt at a time. They hand-planted their crops and hand-picked them. Today, we plow, plant, and spread with 30-foot implements pulled by 300 horsepower tractors. There's combines that harvest 30 feet of crops at a time and self-propelled sprayers. There's approximately 2.5 million farms in the United States, and they made up 38% of the workforce. Because of the vast majority of land available in the Albion area, I think that agriculture is really important to this area.
My name is Anthony Honeycutt. I'm the agriculture education teacher and FFA advisor at Northwestern High School. I run the Albion FFA chapter. FFA stands for Future Farmers of America. Now it's known as the National FFA. Well, the FFA chapter here started at actually Albion High School, and it started way back in 1940. And that was actually started by my wife's great-grandfather. His name was Dr. Byron E. Decker, and he's from Edinburgh. And he started a lot of the different FFA chapters in our county. In 1940, ag was pretty much, they concentrated a whole lot on the livestock and the dairy industry and a little bit of field crops and so forth. They still had all the components that they have today, the classroom part, the FFA part, and also a part called SAE, which stands for Supervised Agriculture Experience. So there's kind of a three-part or a three-circle model to agriculture education. Well, there's the FFA and agriculture education has a huge umbrella. It covers food, fiber, environmental, and natural resource systems, the marketing, the sales of those things, anything from the legislative work to the lobbying end of stuff, all the way down to taking soil samples and doing forestry work. I mean, it covers a broad spectrum of careers. We're probably one of the most active chapters in Pennsylvania. It is it's nonstop action. We start off the year. We have our we start off the year with a big bang with our fair. And we have lots of kids showing different animals, working different buildings at the fairgrounds, so that's a big week for us. Then we get back from that, and we jump right into getting closer to Halloween time. And we do a really neat thing where we take and we get sponsors, and we get enough money that we buy pumpkins for every elementary kid in both Northwestern Elementary and Springfield Elementary. And then my FFA kids help carve the pumpkins and clean them all up and everything. We put little codes on them, and we put them in the woods behind the school. And for 2 nights, everybody in the community comes and walks through and looks at all the lit up pumpkins and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool and really fun. It's a big community thing, and those kids love it. And some of those kids, they never have had an opportunity to even carve a pumpkin before. And so when they do this, it's pretty neat and pretty special. Another thing that we do right after that is we have our National FFA Convention. This year we went up with about 12 kids. It was in Indianapolis this year. And I think at the National FFA Convention there was about 67,000 FFA members there at one time. So it's a lot of kids in blue corduroy jackets. So that's pretty awesome. Then as soon as we get back from that, we're dusting ourselves off a little bit, and we jump right into our Lake Erie Maple Expo. We partner with the different maple associations in Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, and around, and so we take and we put together this big expo. It's actually the second largest maple expo there is. After that, we get a little bit of a break for December. We help with toys for cats and that kind of stuff a little bit at school, and then we go into in January we go into the farm show, and I have lots of kids that go down for that. We have a couple kids that go and show different things at the farm show. After farm show in February, we jump right into FFA week, and that's pretty much highlights a lot of the career end of agriculture and agriculture education. And we have all kinds of events at school during that week, and we go down to Harrisburg a couple more times a year for different conferences and stuff. And then in the fall, or then in the spring of the year, right before summer hits, we have our state FFA convention, and we have kids competing in that and so forth as well. So it pretty much, we stay pretty busy in the ag department. Well, it's probably one of those soapboxes of mine, to be honest with you. I believe that every kid, I would love to see every kid in our school go through agriculture education and see what it is, just so they get some ag literacy and they learn about food, fiber, environmental and natural resource systems, and how those things are produced, what it takes to run those systems, and that kind of stuff. Because then you got good educated kids who are going to be later on in life, those kids are all going to be going to a poll and voting for something, and you get somebody up there that really don't understand that kind of stuff. It can really hurt agriculture. And so one of my personal goals is I'd love for kids to understand this stuff and see how it works, so they make good educated decisions when they go to purchase stuff, or when they go to buy a home, or when they go to a vote at a poll. So.
My name is Barbara Miller. I am a teacher at Northwestern High School. One of the amazing opportunities that I've had as being a part of the school district is to work with the Toys for Wildcats program, and that's what I'd like to share with today. Toys for Wildcats is a program that was created to help families in need during our holiday season. The only requirement for our program is that the students are a part of our district. They could be any age from preschool all the way through high school. And we provide a variety of things for them, including toys, hygiene items, clothing items, food items, whatever the family truly needs to help them have a better holiday. We have a fantastic network of resources within our district, mainly our nurses, school secretaries, and teachers. And the information comes from those individuals to provide us families that could use a little boost for the holidays. People are also welcome to call directly to the school district and provide me their information, and we will make sure that we try to help them out. When the program first started in the 80s, again with Dr. Corder, it provided the opportunity for families to come in, perhaps collect one or two items from the superintendent's office as a gift for the holidays. What we've been able to do is just blossom this program into a situation where families are provided toy items, clothing items, again, anything that they can use. And the way we're able to do that is through the programs in our district. Everything is funded through donations, but we also have the opportunity to work with our ag program, our FFA, and also the Wildcat Ventures program, which will help create toys and build them actually in their program for the kids. The Fill the Bus project is hosted by Northwestern High School Student Council. It's an opportunity for the community to bring toys, clothing items, gently used items, food items even, to the Dollar General. And we literally have a school bus, our school mascot, and students will be working to collect donations on the upcoming date. So in addition to the Fill the Bus opportunity, we also work with many businesses in the local area. We provide Christmas trees with tags on them, kind of like an angel tree, where people in the community can select a child off the tree and return a gift to that business. We also have a number of businesses that do financial contributions to us. Again, everything that we do for Toys for Wildcats is through donation, and the local businesses provide us an opportunity to give back to the community through the kids.
I'm Nikki Campbell, and I am here to talk about the Northwestern Marching Band. The band is really important to a lot of people, and it's a pretty successful band, even technically successful for such a small town. I think that we ask a lot of our kids technically, visually, and musically, more so than you might expect, and they always rise to the occasion. Every year, the number varies a little bit of how many kids are in the band. We have anywhere between 60 and 80 in any given year. The band has several different parts. We have the instrumentalists, which play all the horns and the woodwinds. We have percussionists that play the drums. We have color guard members that do flag and dance. And we have managers that sort of do whatever we need them to do to help us. We compete in two different circuits. The marching band competes in the Lakeshore Marching Band Association, which is pretty local, centered in Erie. We also compete in the New York State Field Band Conference, and that is a statewide conference in New York. So we have won both circuits. I think we figured out 6 times in each place. So that has been, those moments are not always, they don't always happen. I mean, that's certainly not an every year kind of thing, but when they happen, it's pretty amazing. We have had some of our staff members, Mike Wheeler and I have been in place for quite a long time with the band. And over that time, we've decided and sort of learned that band is almost secondary to what we do. It really is about making good kids and great kids, helping kids realize their potential, helping them know that they can do hard things, that they can sustain effort over time and really, really do things that they didn't think they could do. So that sort of becomes what we do, as opposed to making sure they're really good at any sort of marching or playing. That's just the vehicle we use to get there. When I think back to when I started way back in the late 80s, and to now, it has become so much more artistic, it's so much more of like a play on a football field. Lots more props, lots more storytelling, lots more acting. It's not just playing and marching around for 4 songs. There's a theme, and everything contributes to whatever big idea you're trying to communicate. And that the responsibilities for any particular player or member of the band have really, really gone up over the course of time that I've been involved.
My name is Jennifer Krell, and I'm a board member of the Albion Area Community Garden here in Albion, PA. Our garden is currently located behind the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church on 3rd Street in Albion. We are right next door to the Northwestern High School, which has been quite a blessing. And we basically wanted to expand the availability of organic produce and things to the community members in our area who may not have access to the organic produce that they need. I actually came on board a little after it began. It began about 2 seasons ago. We had our location down in the center of town over by the Albion Mill. There was a great team and some kids, volunteers that put that together. There was at one point a decision to have that be moved. The mayor of Albion, Jason White, was a wonderful supporter of this project. One day he was taking his recycling up to the Holy Trinity Church Recycling Center, and he noticed there was a garden already growing. So he approached Kristen Bjorg, who is the pastor's wife at Holy Trinity, and was just curious about that location and if there would be some availability for the community garden. And it was taken before the church board, and they decided yes, that we would be able to use there. So currently on 3rd Avenue there by the recycling center, we have a ½ acre that is fenced in and ready to go for next year's season. The garden and the vegetables are there for anyone in the community. We do focus, obviously, if people are coming in, being volunteers, they have access to come in at any time to the garden. We will pull a harvest out and we'll set it out. We will have a display set up for next year too. But a large portion of what we do will go to our food bank right here in town. Steve Smith is the coordinator of that, and on a monthly basis we want to be able to have whatever's fresh and available to donate. So 10% of all of our fruits and vegetables will go to the food bank. We also have here in town the senior center, the Barnett Center, where there's a lot of different folks of all ages there who could maybe benefit from this. So, and beyond that, if we have leftover produce, we're looking to, if there's preschools in the area, maybe there's in-home daycares, things like that. We don't want any of it to go to waste. A big thing that's very important to all of us on the board is we want the monies that we have received, the outside funding, the grants and things, we're doing everything within our power to keep that funding within our local businesses here. We want the monies to best be used here in our own community. We want to benefit not only the folks with the vegetables that we might have, but all of the grant money that's coming in, channeling into our area, we want to kind of keep into our area. So any local hardware stores, if we need help from different local farmers, any basic outlet we can find, as long as it's available to us, we would like to keep the funding local. We are very excited about our location. We do have access to the high school, and of course, we have Anthony Honeycutt, who has an amazing agriculture program already going there at the high school. So we hope to kind of partner with any teachers, any faculty or staff that might have ideas where they think that our garden can be utilized. We not only want to provide vegetables and healthy food to the community, we also really want to teach people the importance of growing their own vegetables. We want our children to be learning the skills of how to do this so that they can produce this in the future. So education programs, there is a preschool at the Holy Trinity Church. They will come out to do field trips and learn how to plant and get dirty and play with worms. And same thing with the high school. We would like them to come over and maybe environmental science, learn about composting, anything that's going to enhance their learning over there as well. So as much as the garden is a source of food, we also want it to really be education for the people in our town.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Jackson. I'm here today to talk about YMCA Camp Fitch. How Camp Fitch started was in 1914. It began as just a summer camp, and it was in Ohio. In 1924 is when it moved to where it is now in North Springfield, Pennsylvania. It was just a boys' camp to start with, and it eventually turned into a girls' camp in the 50s also, so it was boys and girls. And in the late 60s, I believe, is when it became a year-round camp as opposed to just a summer camp. When it first started in 1924, where it is now, it was pretty small. All the boys stayed in just traditional tents made out of canvas. They had the lakefront, which is great. The lakefront has always been there. There wasn't much there in the 50s. It was pretty much just a dining hall, some tents, the lake. Eventually there was a man-made lake called Lake Mavima, which is still there today, which is pretty great. There's some canoes and boats and everything like that on it, which was great to see. It was originally the swimming pool, so they would do the boating and the swimming in it. My personal connection to camp growing up, both of my parents worked there, which was a really unique experience for me. I lived there for 25 years, which not many people can say that they lived at a camp for that long. Something unique, I think, for me is I always had all my meals at camp also, since my parents were there working and they had to work the meals. So, a traditional dinner would be a family of however many, and my dinners were always with, I never knew. It was my family. It could be international people who were there working on staff, which was really cool, really good dinner conversation, which was really neat for me. The traditional summer camp entails, there's just a regular summer camp for kids to go for a week. They stay overnight in these things called cabins, which is a cabin in a tent kind of put together. The sides are canvas and the roof and the floor are both permanent, so cabin. In the summer, there is a traditional summer camp, there is a technology camp, there is a health camp, there is a leadership camp, and there is a thing called Camp Corral so that children of veterans can go to and be at camp for a week. I think camp is important to this small town because it gives kids experiences that maybe they've never had before. Holding those frogs and those snakes, even though they live here, maybe they haven't done it. Maybe they've never kayaked or paddleboarded or been on a sailboat. It gives really neat experiences to kids.
Hi, I'm Meredith Borstoff, and I'm going to talk to you today about Raccoon Park. Raccoon Park is a lakefront park. It's situated right on the shore of Lake Erie. We've got a public pavilion that is rentable to residents, people outside of the area, Albion residents. We get many people come have their family functions, graduation parties, sometimes weddings, and family picnics that enjoy the swimming. It's not a guarded beach, but it's very used by the residents, and they like to bring their family pets down there, have their cookouts. Back in 2010, we applied for various grant monies to improve the park because we hadn't had any major renovations to the park in many, many years, probably since the 60s or 70s. The project was just over $300,000 to complete the pavilion and the restroom project. We received grant monies from DCNR and Coastal Zone Management for the project. The local portion was about $78,000, which the supervisors secured a select timber cut, so it was self-funded, so we didn't have to dig into our resources of our general fund. We were able to secure that just from logging of the park. Raccoon Park is the largest park in our area, and it's 195 acres. 20 acres of it's right along the shoreline, and then on the south side of the road is the remaining, and there's paths through there that people go hiking. There's hunting permitted there, not on the lakeshore side, but certainly a lot of nature to enjoy. Well, for the residents, we're so far out of Erie. A lot of people say so far, and I don't like to use that because we're really not that far, but it certainly is convenient and handy to be able to go to a beach and not have to go all the way into Presque Isle. It may not be as sandy, it may not be a guarded beach, but we enjoy it, and it's just really nice and low-key and a wonderful resource for us to have. It's definitely nice for kids who have grown up here and maybe now they have their own family here, and they can also take their kids to the beaches that they enjoyed while they were growing up and have family reunions and come back to what is home for them.
Hi, I'm Julie Arsenault, and I'd like to talk to you today about the park program. The park program was started in the 50s by the Northwestern School District and Coach Lysick, and it ran from 2 weeks after the end of the school year till 2 weeks before the beginning of the next school year. It was operated at the Albion Borough Park for students from around the community. They would bus in students from Platea, Cranesville, and Springfield so that all the students in the area could enjoy the activities. The activities back then were different. They did a lot of crafting. They did wood cutouts that the students would paint that Coach Lysick made throughout the year, as well as ceramics. They did wrap crepe paper baskets that a number of people I've talked to still have today. They also took the students swimming down to the lake to what is now Egley Park. It used to be called the Pump Station, which we couldn't do today for obvious liability reasons. The students did a lot of sports activities as well. They had a ping pong table set up where the students could play. They had the basketball courts and pick up baseball games. And they of course ran the carousel. The students all remember when their horse would land on the white line painted on the carousel area floor, they would get a paper or a piece of wood with a number on it, and that was how many pieces of trash they had to pick up, and they could take those trash pieces or popsicle sticks to the pavilion and turn them in and receive a free popsicle. Today the park program looks different than it did back then. We have students that come in at the beginning of the day, and we serve a free breakfast. And then we have different stations divided by age group. The students cycle through reading and math activities. We have a nature or science program each day. They get a free snack and a ride on the carousel, and they still do crafts. And then they have a half hour free time on the playground, and then they have a free lunch before they go home at the end of the day. The summer foods program is provided by IU5, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and the USDA. The program runs for students that are entering kindergarten through entering 6th grade, and then students who are in 7th grade through high school can volunteer as group leaders. I just think it's a great legacy of adults being able to pay it forward to the next generation and give the kids something to do in the summer.
My name is Randy Heights, and I'm here to tell you about the biggest little fair around, the Albion Area Fair. The fair was built out of community, and it's continued to this day. Think about the farmers. We're an agriculture fair, and really that's what it's about. It was based on a group of farmers getting together, having a get-together, bringing their horses together, having some competitions, and then it developed into the fair that we have today. the fair, we like to offer something for everybody. We are not the biggest fair, but we have a little bit of everything. We have all the animals. We have all the competitions as far as the fair queen and the tractor pulls and the truck pulls. So we have a little bit of thing for everyone, and that's kind of what's unique about us. There's a lot of anticipation coming up, and this is not the carnival coming to town. This is about the community gathering together. There's a lot of families gathering. There's people that travel from all over the country to come back to gather together with their families, which is what we're based on. And then that's what also creates the community that we have. All of the organizations coming together, doing their fundraisers from the churches, the fire departments, the organizations in town. Fair, that's one of the unique things, is that the Albion Fair is full of volunteers. We have over 50 departments with over 200 volunteers. And those volunteers kind of are each individual groups. They do their thing. They put on the horse pull, they put on the tractor pull. They do that event, is their event. And that's unique. They own that. And that's, we don't manage that. We just kind of help any way we can as far as the leadership of the fair, the board. But they run their own thing. So that's kind of the thing that the challenge is that you've got to let go and let them do their thing. The fair was organized like 73 years ago. And so, I mean, it's been around for a long time. You know, there's many fairs in the state that have been around longer, but we're right up there with that time frame. And it's great to be part of that heritage, that long-term, going on. And in today's world, one of the other challenges is funding, of course, and going through that. We have been blessed with, great grant writing and things like that to help us out. The Erie ECRA organization has helped us a lot, has been great involved in that. So we've had widespread community involvement, and that's what we're about, is bringing us together, bringing kind of some of the other organizations to our organization to work together, because that's the only successful way we can make it. Now, the fair is part of Albion. It's part of our DNA. It really is. I mean, the fact that as we gather together, it was interesting, I had someone talk to me this last year about, hey, can we do this volunteer event? Can we get people together and do this? And I go, sure, if you can find anybody that's available to help you, you can do it. And he came back to me later, he says, there's no one available. Everybody's involved somewhere doing something, which is kind of neat to know. It's kind of a compliment in a way. But we're busy, and again, up to selling the booster buttons at the gate, to providing the food, for providing the parking. We've got a lot of organizations involved that are doing that. And again, everybody is involved, and we're pulling people from outside of the community to come in and help us. The neat thing is that the fact that it's a group that just works together. The fair kind of happens, and that's kind of a neat thing. I mean, coming to the meetings, we have monthly meetings that we have together, and we'll have, again, we think about, it's not just fair times, but we'll have 50, 60, 70 people at our fair meetings, and these volunteers get together. We've started a couple years ago getting a thank you together. We had a picnic together and things like that. So it's kind of neat, and more people are getting involved, and that's exciting.
My name's Joycelyn Taylor, and I'm going to tell the story about Albion's historic carousel. In 1947, the Albion Lions Club decided to get together and give a gift to the local community kids. They wanted to bring a merry-go-round into town. So they began their search and ended up finding one that was out of Lorain, Ohio. It was a used one, and it was kind of more in their price range. Typically at the time, a carousel would be between $10,000 and $20,000. This one they found was just $800. So they took the trip to Lorain and looked at it, and this was one of the very first community service projects that the newly organized Lions did for our community. Once they went and looked at it, they found it in much disrepair. It was in somebody's barn in pieces. So when they came back to town, they decided that they could probably make this work. They created what they called the Merry-Go-Round Fund Drive, so that local organizations and businesses and even residents could help in raising the money to bring the carousel into town. The Merry-Go-Round Fund Drive was a huge success, and they found that even though their goal was only $800, by January of 1948, they had already raised over $3,000 for the carousel. Now, once they hit the $800, they did develop a crew to go and pick it up and transport it back to Albion. But the fund
fund drive kept going, and that was for restoration purposes because it obviously was going to need a lot of work. As the restoration began, a lot of the history of the carousel came about. Turns out the carousel was built around 1897. It was a traveling carousel that went around to local fairs in the Ohio area. When it wasn't fair season, this carousel was actually the first operating carousel at Cedar Point. In addition to the carousel being built in 1897, the oldest part of the carousel was the original 200 whistle organ that was built in 1850. So now that we realize what a gem we have in the area, restoration took painstaking hours, days, months. Throughout the entire winter of 1947, they worked on each individual animal. They worked on rebuilding the decking. Originally, the carousel was operated by 2 to 3 horses on a crank system to pull the merry-go-round around in a circle. Of course, that had to be changed over, so it was made easier with a motor. By the start of the Summer Park program in 1948, the carousel was up and running for kids of the community, and the Lions Club realized the dream of being able to give the gift back to the kids of the community. One of the major improvements that was made to the carousel was the 8-sided pavilion that it's now housed in that would protect it from the elements because it is a true wooden structure. It was a mainstay for the park program and the Albion Area Fair until 1967, when unfortunately a group of vandals really worked it over. There were 6 to 10 horses that were actually thrown in Conneaut Creek behind the park. Most all of the legs and ears were broken off these horses, and the original organ, 60% of it was destroyed. So of course that was a huge blow to the community. But again, in true community spirit, they called out for help, and basically the town has adopted this carousel, and whenever it needs refurbished, the people step up and refurbish. So the second refurbishment happened around 1967 after the vandalism. So when I was a kid, it was open to us as in the park program during the fair, we were able to ride on this historic carousel. And come the late 80s, 1986-ish, it did have to be torn down because it was in disrepair again. So they tore it down for 2 years, reshored the decking, and each horse on the carousel was adopted by a local family to disassemble each piece, sand it down, repaint it, and reassemble it. And that is where the carousel is today. It was reopened in 1988. It consists of 22 deer, horses, and zebras. And it's just a continuing reminder of the beautiful gift that the Lions Club gave to our community.
Hi, my name's Becky Pentilla, and I'm here today to talk about the Albion Area Lions Club. The Albion Lions Club is a service organization that was founded here in the local chapter here in Albion in 1946. We do all kinds of fundraising so that we can make sure that we can contribute back to the community and to other international organizations. Well, the current membership of the Albion Lions Club is about, I think, 35, but active members we have 15 who are actively come and participate in the meetings and in our functions. We meet twice a month. One is a business meeting, and the other one is a dinner meeting where we have fun and try to have some guests in for speakers, and that meets at Valenza's. Fundraisers that we do in our club, we do twice a year. We do pancake breakfast, and the proceeds go to whatever function it is that we determine needs the most help. We've done some for the library, we do some for the fire departments. We've also done some with the FFA for their sugar shack. We also do a 100 Club raffle, and that is done during the fall with the football team. We do drawings, 20 drawings. People can have the opportunity to win $250 at each drawing on that. So that's another fundraiser that we do. Another fundraiser we do in the summer is a golf tournament. We just had our 15th annual golf tournament this summer, and that's a nice fundraiser for us there. We have 35 teams that usually participate, and it's a good time. And then our biggest fundraiser is in the fall, and it's around the Albion Fair, and we do a chicken barbecue. All 5 days of the fair, we do a chicken barbecue, and that's our major fundraiser. Well, the important thing about the Albion Lions Club is the fact that we do try to make sure that all of our contributions remain within the community. And, we raise about $20,000 a year, and about $15,000 of that goes right back into the community. It's very, very important that we continue this in order to ensure that places like, the Albion Library that we're sitting in today is able to continue to maintain its status here. Another very, very important aspect of the Albion Lions Club is that we help people that are hearing and sight impaired. We have, over the last 3 years, we have donated money to 3 different members of our community in order for them to receive a operation so that their sight can continue. That is, when you hear their story after they have had the operation, that's the thing that makes you really believe in the Lionism organization. It's so heartwarming to know that you were able to help somebody see when they weren't able to.
Hi, my name is Courtney Phobes, and I would like to tell you about the Albion Area Chamber of Commerce and the events that we put on each year and how we help promote each other in the community. So the Chamber has about 30 members as it is right now, all from the Albion Area Northwestern School District. We get together once per month and we talk about what's going on in the community, how we can help support each other, and how we can help support the community itself. So the Chamber started almost 45 years ago. We're gonna be celebrating a big 45-year anniversary in the next couple years here. It started back with Mr. Jim Mikovich, who was the owner, operator of Community National Bank in the area, a bank that had many branches that he just recently retired. So we're very thankful to Jim and Ed Kemp for all of their support and their leadership in the Chamber throughout the years. That's really where it started. Over the past few years, we've tried to develop the Chamber into something a little bit more new. We've got some younger people involved. We've got, some women involved, and we are very excited to develop the Chamber into something that not only supports business in the area, but community endeavors like our new community garden that has started up over the last 2 years. So we hold 3 events each year as a Chamber, and we partner with different community organizations like the Albion Volunteer Fire Department, and we have and also the Albion Borough Police Department, which has really stepped up over the past few years and become involved in some different things that we've been doing, like our July 3rd fireworks celebration. We have one of the biggest fireworks celebrations in the county out here in Albion. Every July 3rd, we've had 3 so far, and this past year we had a circus come, which was pretty neat. Lots of people lots of food. The fire department does a pig roast each year as well, so it's a pretty big event. We also do a Halloween event, which is every October 31st. It is on Halloween. It's out in front of the Albion Fire Hall. We block off Smock Avenue and have a bounce house and hot dogs. The Albion Assembly of God Church provides hot dogs and hot chocolate and that sort of thing, and they kind of sponsor the event along with us. And then Santa Claus comes to town and we sponsor that. And that happens towards the end of November, beginning of December each year. Santa comes in on a fire truck. We have treats and cookies and hot dogs, and the kids all get to visit with Santa as he comes into town. I mean, a community is so important to your life every day, where you get your groceries, for one. We have Surefine, which has been here for, almost 50 years, or as long as I can remember. And you walk in and you know everyone and you can say hi, and it's just easy going. I think that the chamber enables people an opportunity to come together and to connect and to know what's going on business-wise, and be able to translate that in a way that makes the community just a better place for everyone in general.
My name's Joanna Twitchell, and my story is about Project NEED. Project NEED stands for Northwestern Extended Emergency Dwelling. It provides temporary emergency shelter for those who have lost their homes due to fire, flood, or other natural disaster. Approximately 30-some years ago, a small group of concerned Albion citizens found that when families lost their homes due to a fire or flood, they were being housed outside of their community. This small group of people decided that when you go through such a traumatic event, you need your family, you need your community close by. And that's where the inception of Project NEED came through. The Moose Club actually donated the house to us, and it was fully gutted and restored by volunteers and donations of labor and materials, and it has become quite the community gem. When people were being moved into hotels outside their community, they found it easier to just find housing where they were, because they were removed from their community. Their children, it may have been during a school year, and it was a hardship back and forth to their school. So this group of citizens found that, they needed to keep them within our community. All our funding is provided by fundraisers that we have, by donations from our local businesses. We are totally staffed by volunteers. No one gets paid. Everyone donates their time. Some of our volunteers have even donated materials. We have 2 fundraisers a year. We don't want to overtax our community here, and they are generally very generous with their donations. Back when they received the building, it used to be a haunted house. Everything was painted black on the inside. The windows, the walls, the ceilings, everything. What was involved was completely gutting the house, right down, drywall, everything, right down to the studs. They had volunteers and businesses completely rewire it, re-drywall it, paint it, new fixtures, new plumbing, everything. And again, it was all donated and provided by local businessmen and local businesses. It was quite the thing to see that this community coming together to make something like that, and it's very unique. There is nothing like this anywhere that I am aware of at this time. There are 2 3-bedroom, fully equipped apartments. We have one upstairs and one downstairs. It comes complete with towels. We even provide toiletries for when you first move in. There's all the kitchen utensils you need. Our local food pantry comes in and steps up and provides the family with about a week's worth of groceries. So that first week, that after you've gone through this horribly traumatic thing, all you have to do is sit back and catch your breath. and try to figure out what's next. Everything, we take care of everything for you that first week. And then we give you up to 3 months. 3 months is usually the maximum stay. And we do what we can to make your stay as comfortable as possible. Our plans for the future, they're down the road a little bit, but we would like to see some of these our surrounding smaller communities especially, have their own project need. It's a nice thing for a community to have, so that when someone does lose their home, they have some place where their friends are close, where their family's close, where there's community and their neighbors are close by. That they aren't going to a hotel and have 3 or 4 kids and trying to stay in a hotel and live their lives. This helps them, even though it's not home. It's the next best thing until you get back into your own home. So we would like to see other communities have something similar to what we have, and we'd like to take it to some communities and show them what we have and maybe encourage them to have their own.
Hi, my name is Lisa Pieri, and I'm here to tell you our story about 180 Consignment Thrift Shop here in Albion. We chose Albion because we lived close by, and I also have lived in the area for all my life and always came to the Albion Fair growing up and always enjoyed that. As we got to know the community, saw a need for a secondhand shop to help neighbors and friends in the community. So we decided to open 180 Consignment Thrift Shop. 180 Consignment Thrift Shop is a consignment and thrift store that was started 7 years ago in Albion, Pennsylvania. 180 Consignment Thrift gets our items through consignment, that means people bring their items for us to sell for them, and then some people donate some things for us to sell as well. This is how we help the community, because that would help people get extra money. It's also the ultimate recycling plan, because you don't have to throw everything to the curb. You can bring it down to try to resell it. And that helps other people as well to get something for a bargain and also clean out your closet. The location of the store is, we're at a wonderful location. We're in one of the oldest buildings in Albion. It has seen a lot of storefronts in there. Waltrel's is the most popular that we hear, that the senior community comes in and says how they used to shop in Waltrel's and how they would go downstairs especially to find shoes and boots. And an 89-year-old woman came in and gave us a beautiful gift of a picture of, was taken from the front windows into the shop around early 1900s. And she said as a child she was allowed to bring her roller skates and roller skate throughout the wooden floors in the top level. And she just had such beautiful memories that day. She came in and she walked all around, and she was still glad it was still standing, and she would tell us where things were placed. And so it was very much a blessing to hear her talk of that and her love for the store after all these years. Albion has received us with open arms from the very beginning. They've been a huge blessing to our store, and they always comment of how it was always needed in the community to have a store, a thrift store, a consignment store, to help the community.
So hi, my name is Ashley Copeland, and I'm the secretary of Little Church on the Hill, so that's what our story is about today. Okay, well, it was built in 1855, originally as a Universalist church. So the original congregation would be Universalists. They would have been the ones meeting there. And it's been, as the township came into ownership of it and the society was established, then it's been used for a vast amount of other things now. Bridal showers, union meetings, weddings,
all kind of other things. The Elk Creek Township Historical Society was established to run the church since the Elk Creek Township came into ownership of it. So that is who oversees the maintenance now. And so all of us are with the Elk Creek Township Historical Society, helping maintain the building. See, that's a special place. I started being involved with Little Church in 2013, I believe it was. Started as me attending a ghost walk at Hope Cemetery. And, Laura Rozecki was the president at the time and kind of roped me in. And before you know it, I was voted in as secretary. And so I've been there ever since. But it's a totally different feel when you walk into the church. Like, I have family members say the same thing. Like, you immediately feel comfortable, you feel at home. So and once you walk in and visit the church, it's pretty unique. You get the pews that are kind of like little stalls with doors, and that's just something you don't really see a lot of places. So it's a pretty unique, special place. Little country church in its home. Well, when the society was established, it just started out as, coffee houses with a big August coffee, toast, and jam is what we call it. Big 6-hour music event, tickets, and all kinds of stuff going on. But that's kind of expanded to being a monthly coffee house event. The regular monthly ones are only 2 hours, but we usually have at least one additional event every month. Some popular ones, new ones that we've done include Doggy Ice Cream Social, which is, personal favorite. If you're a dog mom, it's a personal favorite one of yours, with all kinds of things going on, costume contests and raffles and all of that, as well as lots of doggy vendors. And we have, every year we've been inviting a bunch of vendors for an annual craft fair in June, always first Saturday of June. And we usually have at least one other monthly event. Harvest Fest, which just happened a couple weeks back. And Christmas is full of things like photos with Santa. We have a cookie exchange. We have a candlelight Christmas Eve service. And we're going to be starting a speaker series soon in the months where we don't have a lot going on, getting local people in to talk about things that they do. Well, I hope that we can be there for a long, long time, keeping the building going, and as much help as we can get, time and effort-wise to help keep that going, keep the building standing. Every little bit of effort is appreciated, so I hope we can keep that building standing for a long, long time. And, the more people that help, many hands make light work, so the more things that we can do.
Hi, I'm Judy Rozecki, and I'm here to talk to you about Hope Cemetery. In 1901, Hope Cemetery became incorporated. From there on, we had a group of people who were the caretakers so much of Hope Cemetery. There's 7 of us, and it's called the Hope Cemetery Association. And we pretty much make sure the place is taken care of. Originally, it was thought there was 118 military personnel buried at Hope Cemetery. After research, there was about 200 and some, and now there are over 300 military personnel buried at Hope Cemetery. 2 of them, one was Oakley Cobb, and he is, the American Legion carries his name. He died in France, and he is buried at Hope Cemetery. The other would be Clayton O'Ball, and Clayton O'Ball died at is buried in Flanders Field. He is not buried at Hope Cemetery, but his mother, his father, his brothers, and the majority of his family is. So the VFW 2341 bought a cross replica of his headstone in Flanders Field and had it mounted between the mother and father's headstones so that, at least symbolically, he is represented with his family at Hope Cemetery. Peter Overmeyer, we started looking for him because findagrave.com, Lawrence Overmeyer asked for a picture of his distant relative's headstone. Thought, well, I'm only 2 miles away, I can do this. So I went down. We found everyone else on the list except for Peter. Alice Goodwill, she's takes care of the cemetery, she found that Peter was buried in a section we call the single row grave. These are people who are maybe not so well-to-do, that they, or maybe they were moving, like someone had a baby. They knew they wouldn't go someplace else and they wouldn't buy three places, so they would bury the baby there and then they move on. This is what the section is. We found him there. Edith Barton Smith drew me a map from what she could remember. She was 91 years old, and she had tried to find Peter, and when she was 35, she came up. She said she remembered there was a little metal headstone, so we took a metal detector up. And in the spot that we found, we dug down, and there I pulled it out, and it was a little rusty back of a metal headstone. So we knew we had found Peter. We ordered a headstone. We had reenactors come out. We had 21-gun salute for him. And that's how I got involved with the Hope Cemetery, because I promised him if he let me find him, I would not stop till I found the last soldier. Also at Hope Cemetery, we have an 1892 field cannon. The cannon was thought to be a Civil War cannon because it was put there in honor of the Civil War soldiers by George Bard. But it is it is from the Spanish-American War, and it was in very bad repair. There's a little love note carved into it, which we took a picture of, but we had sandblasted out, and we had it. Crow's Auto Body did the paint job on it. That will last 40 years. We polish him up. We keep him protected because he has a pavilion, and all of that was paid for by the VFW 2341 in Albion. When you spend as much time with a cannon as I had, I just started calling him Old George because he reminded me of an old soldier who wasn't asking anything from anybody, but he needed help. So every night I would pat him and say, "It's going to be all right, George. You're going to go home." So everybody in the neighborhood started calling him Old George, and the name stuck. So we just call him Old George. And we had the VFW and the American Legion. They all came out. We had a rededication for George, and we called off the names of every soldier that was buried at Hope Cemetery and rang a bell for each one of them. Then it was all over. I was feeling pretty good. I walked over to Peter's grave and said, "Well, Peter, we found the last soldier. We brought George home, and it's all done." Within a few seconds, the lady walked up to me and said, "You're missing 2 soldiers. They're from the Revolutionary War." And it was on again, and it hasn't stopped yet. Lawrence Overmeyer is a distant relative of Peter's. He's the one who pretty much got us to find Peter and get moving on this. And he said, history remembers the famous. Genealogy remembers them all. And I think in Hope Cemetery, it's kind of like genealogy because it's our family. It's people that started our community. They are the ones who have built Elk Creek Township and Albion area. And they deserve to be remembered and honored.
My name is Samuel Steff. I was the funeral director in town and deputy coroner. On May 31st, 1985, shortly past 5 o'clock, a level 4 tornado came through town. Wiped a third of our town out. We had 12 people killed. There is a memorial by the funeral home. It was pure horror. Tom Rich was out a couple days afterwards, and he had said he had served 2 tours in Vietnam, and he never saw devastation like this. People were really hurting. We lost a third of our town. But it was a good thing. A lot of love. People just came up and hugged you. A lot of help came in, even 6 months after the tornado. There were churches in town helping. I had an opportunity to walk the flood areas of Clarksburg, West Virginia 6 months later. Different disaster, same horror. Oh, the help that we received was months. You didn't see a lot of it because of the fact it was maybe wiring, a church doing rewiring in a house, or maybe painting some walls in a house. So they were here for quite a while. You know, we started standing on our own feet. You know, once everybody left, we had to stand on our own feet. We had to do something. You know, and we just continue moving forward. The one thing that really stands out for me is Kathy Gibson. She had passed away about 2 years ago, but she had a beautiful 3-story early American house. I was down. It's literally down. And Melissa was standing on a corner calling for her mom. I climbed the rubble and I raised Kathy's voice. I told her we had help coming, hang in there. About a week after she got out of the hospital, I saw her. Kathy said to me after she got out of the hospital, I was never so damn glad to hear the funeral director's voice. That's just one. There's many. When they got my hearse out of the garage, 4 days afterwards, we were down having lunch at the Grace Church. Everybody applauded. The sad part, though, was the 12 dead. I lost a couple that worked for me. Stan and Francis Greta. And so there's 12 families that really were suffering, were emotionally. And we had to, you know, take care of them. When you lose somebody in a sudden event like this, you're not totally prepared for it, and they hurt. There were several subsequent deaths after the tornado, and this is because of pure shock. There was a couple miscarriages, sudden cardiac arrests that occurred. Wasn't too many, but that is normal for a disaster of this nature. If you go down across the creek by the barns, you'll see a mound. And that's where Albion's buried. You know, after the tornado, we lost a third of our town. And then as you go through town, there's a lot of empty lots yet. But the love of the community itself. If, you know, somebody needs help, they're there for them.
Oh, Albion's awesome. And the big thing with Albion, I really think, is the community. You have an awesome community in Albion. They're super supportive. We've been really, really fortunate to be able to work with a lot of these different organizations, whether it's the fair or the garden club or any of those kinds of things. And you know, those people are they're willing to help. They've been awesome with, you know, coming to our events and, you know, supporting our school and supporting our program.
My favorite thing about Albion is the Albion Fair. And again, the smiles, seeing the smiles on the kids' faces, that's what I love. I just love to be out in the crowd with the people, being out there with them and seeing them having a good time, eating this great food that we have, watching the great shows that we have. And again, seeing that part of it, that agriculture part, that education part that we're bringing to the community is huge. And I say the community, it's like Erie County and beyond. We are trying to be that piece of the community that needs to be there.
What I like most about Albion is how farmers and other neighbors help each other out. Whenever we need different parts, we can borrow them from others, and we share information about sprays and mechanical fixes and anything like that. People from the community will drive by and wave at you, or the local Albion Police Department. We can call them and they'll lead the combine through town so that it arrives safely on the other side. I've had to go get a part at the local Napa and didn't have any cash. So I went in and they said, no worries, here's the part. We'll get you the next time you come in. Or Kennedy's Hardware, that will send you home with one of their small pans whenever you have too many parts and you don't have enough hands to carry all of them. It's so nice to have tire repair shops, mechanical fixes, hardware stores, big truck and tractor repairs, all in the local area, so that it keeps the conveniences close and keeps the business in the neighborhood.
What do I love about Albion? I love nature. You can get out and sit by yourself and just be away from everything for a while. I love the people. You know most everyone, you know, you can walk down the road and see pretty much everyone that you know. I love that it is a place that's not focused on material things. It's a place where you can be comfortable and you don't have to make $1 million to get by. You can focus on the simple things and what matters in life and not just money.
I moved away from Albion years ago. And to be honest, being younger, it was one of those, it was a small town. I just wanted to grow. I wanted to be bigger. I went to cities. I lived around them. And what I found was people are different there. I moved home on purpose. I wanted to be close to family. I love the fact that we use the park. The Albion Park is utilized so much by our community. Everyone is supportive of our parades. There is just such a closeness. When you go to the pharmacy, they know your name, they know your family and what's going on. When you go to the post office, it's the same kind of thing. And I just really, as I've gotten older with a young family, I very much appreciate the small town feel and the support that Albion offers. I really do truly love it here.
See, Albion, and I don't appreciate this. My favorite thing about Albion, I didn't appreciate it as much when I was growing up as I do now, but it's the community. It's a great community of people. Whenever anything's happened to anybody, there's always a group of people right there behind them, willing to help and pitch in with it, whatever they can. Time, materials, anything they need. So definitely appreciate that more.
Well, I've been here all my life. I know everybody knows me, and if you get in trouble, they're always there to back you up.
Everybody knows everybody, and it's like a big family.
I love Albion in the fact that I was born and raised here. I left for a short period of time, but when I decided to have children, this was the area where I wanted to bring them back. It's a perfect community to come and raise your children, know that they're going to be safe, and have a healthy relationship with their community.
My favorite thing about the Albion area is literally the community. As I've been a part of the school district for 16 years, it is amazing to watch how much people are willing to give back, to go above and beyond, and it's not just in the school district itself, but also in the people that reside in this town. It has been just an absolute pleasure to be a part of it. And in actuality, I was a part of it in the 80s through all of the change that happened in the mid-80s with the town itself. And to see the community pull together at that point, and then to continue to see the blessings that they share with each other, it truly is a great area to be a part of.
I like that it is a very close town. People look out for each other. If my kids, as they were growing up, would do something, I'd know before they got home from school, because that's how this town is. They look out for each other's kids, they look out for each other. They are usually, if there's something going on, if someone is sick, there will be a dinner going on for that person to raise money. If somebody isn't able to buy groceries, there's going to be somebody that's going to show up at their door with a bag of groceries. I know this. I've seen it. I know these people look out for each other, all of them. It doesn't matter who they are. If somebody's hurt, they're going to get help.
My favorite thing about Albion is probably that it is such a small town and that we know each other and we take care of each other. When I first moved into my house, I called to have the water turned on. And when I called the borough office, the person who answered the phone said, "Oh, Nikki, honey, I saw that you bought that house. I already turned it on for you." And that was exactly that's just exactly your experience in this town. Like, they had already just taken care of it because they knew me and they knew what was happening. So that's kind of, you just feel taken care of.
I love Albion because of the people, because I'm very involved with the softball program, so I really get to meet a lot of the youth with the Little League. And I really enjoy working with the youth in this small community.
What I love about the school district is that everybody knows each other. Most of the children have grown up since elementary school. We start an elementary school in Springfield Township, an elementary school in Albion, and then in 6th grade, they merge. They get to meet new people, but they still are with basically the same people from elementary school all the way through graduation. It's nice to have that history and that long-term friendship with your friends and neighbors.
Personally, my favorite thing about Albion is just the sense of community. It's a small town. It's not so small that it's the stereotypical small town, but families know each other. There's multi-generation families here, and so there's a sense of history. People understand and support one another, I think, better than a lot of other communities that I've been around. We're not as a community, we're not segregated into groups based on somebody's particular interests here or there. It doesn't seem that way to me. The school is supported by the community in a great way. We draw great crowds to sporting events and to other functions. The band is greatly supported. The theater program at the school is greatly supported in the community, and you don't see that in all communities. And that's, I think, my favorite part of being as part of the Albion community is those kinds of things.
I think my favorite thing about Albion is the people. They have been absolutely wonderful to us, open arms and receiving. We've grown to love them very much.
When I came to town, I came from Erie. And, you wonder, coming to a small hick town? But I learned really fast through the business how much this town cares.
I think my favorite thing about Albion is the people themselves. Without the people that we have here, it's not Albion. We have people that in a crisis it's amazing to see how everyone comes together. When we had the fire at the Barnett building, all these wonderful people came together and donated clothing and items. Years and years ago when the tornado went through, the community that came together, it was amazing, and people going out of their way to be nice and help out their neighbors and their friends. Without the people in this town, you don't have the community atmosphere.
The thing I love most about Albion is its home. I was born here, I was raised here, and no matter how long it's been since I've visited, I always come back and I know someone. My parents live here, my family lives here, my friends still live. I've made lifelong friends from Albion. It's just home.
Our Town, Stories from Albion is made possible in part by a grant from the Erie Community Foundation, working to improve the quality of life for all in our region by evaluating and addressing community issues, building permanent charitable endowments, and promoting philanthropic and community leadership. The Erie Community Foundation, helping today, shaping tomorrow. Our Town, Stories from Albion is also brought to you in part by Rogers Brothers Corporation, the Albion Animal Center, and viewers like you. Thank you.